Welcome to Light Notes, stories of spirituality and business strategy. This is your invitation to follow your intuition and shape your path with purpose. Together, we'll explore stories of business, serendipities. I love the magic in the world. And the fundamental truth that the way you see the world will change the world. At the end of each story, I'll share a light note, a whisper from the universe that love is truly all around us. Connecting dots. When I was a little girl, I used to play this game with my dad called House. It's a game you play on paper where you make a grid out of dots. You then take turns connecting the dots with little lines. And if you're the person to connect the last line and make a house, you get to put your initial inside the box. I loved playing this game with my dad. And I think I knew at times he was letting me win. But there's this element of give and take in the game. You might receive a lot of houses and then might have to give even more. When I was about 8 years old, my parents divorced. Not only did they divorce, but I was physically separated from my big brother and my father. My father moved to Texas and then to California, and I remained in New Hampshire and Georgia and various other places on the East Coast. So the phone became really important. It became our way of connecting. I think it's why now I cherish audio messages from my friends and why I believe so deeply in the power of words. And why I'm drawn to certain people simply because of their voice. I remember no matter what was happening, my dad always answered the phone. This was before the days of cell phones. And if he had a big meeting and I would call his office, his secretary would say to me, "Hey, he told me if you called, he'll call you right back after his meeting." He was my rock. I would call him and talk to him about school, fights I had with friends. I remember his ability to help me see things from a different perspective and learn how to connect better with others. One time I called him saying I had gotten into a fight with a friend, and he said, "Yeah, I can see how that would make you really upset. And she probably saw it like this. Did you think about it that way?" And I said, "Oh no, shoot, Dad, I didn't. What do I do now? How do I make it better?" He gave me some words to try on. I tried them on and they worked. He was a really good peacekeeper. One day, when I lived north of Atlanta, I came home from school with an extra credit math assignment. I loved math, especially growing up in a world that felt tumultuous. Having math where there were answers, rights and wrong, black and white, it was like structure. And you knew that every problem had an answer. The extra credit assignment was to draw a cube. I didn't know how. I called my dad. "Dad, can you help me?" This was before the days of video phones, before the days of cell phones. I sat there at a circular table with a phone tucked between my ear and shoulder, twisting that curly cord between my fingers. Of course, he said yes. I sat there with graph paper in front of me, not knowing where we were going, not knowing what we were doing. He guided me with his voice alone and gave me very clear instructions. Draw a dot here, label it A. Go down 2 spaces, draw a dot here, label it B. Not only was my assignment to draw the cube, but my assignment was to explain to somebody else how to draw a cube. Have you ever seen those pictures that have all the dots that you're supposed to stare at and then all of a sudden an image will emerge? I had brown eye growing up, which is the opposite of lazy eye. It's where one of the muscles in your eye is too tight. I remember doing these eye exercises, closing my eyes, looking up, down, left, right to try to loosen the tightness in the eye. Apparently it worked. But for some reason, those photos with the dots never worked for me. I would stare and stare and stare and nothing would appear. But this day, something appeared. I sat there listening intently, not understanding, not seeing where we were going, plotting dots, writing letters, connecting lines. And then all of a sudden, as if like one of those photos where something else emerges, I saw the cube. My jaw dropped. I was in pure amazement of what we had created, amazement and deep appreciation and gratitude of this man's patience. If you think about this, nowadays we would probably say, I can't do that over the phone. I need to show you in person. Turn on your video. But he just sat there quietly guiding me with his voice. It almost moves me to tears because that moment with my dad was one of the moments that I realized what an incredible soul he is and was, and how much he loved me. Okay. So my dad taught me how to draw a cube over the phone. It was special. Let's fast forward. I'm now 15 and I'm living in Rhode Island. My brother's going to college. We had talked about me potentially going to live with my father in New Jersey. My mother was remarried. My father was alone. And neither my brother nor I wanted him to be alone. I was thinking about it, but it was finally the first time in ages that I felt like I had friends and that we weren't constantly moving. It was my father's birthday. He called me. We had a conversation. Happy birthday, Dad. He started talking about going away. He said to me, you'll be okay if I go. I said, Dad, where are you going? In my head, I was thinking, is he going to move to Toronto? Is he going to go live with his sister, my auntie? Dad, where are you going? And no, I won't be okay. I was clear on that. I will not be okay. My dad was my protector, even at distance. When things got rough, I called my dad. Dad, I will not be okay. Yes, you will, sweetheart. Wow. I didn't think I was going to get emotional sharing this, but wow. Apparently I am. The next night he died. Ooh. And I felt it. I felt my protector was gone and life was really hard. I'm going to fast forward because I actually don't think on a podcast is the right moment to burst into tears, but let's fast forward. Okay, I'm back. I took a minute and now I'm recentered. About 6 months later, I'm a junior in high school. My friends and I all were starting to get our licenses and have a bit more freedom. It was January 1st, the evening. My friend and I had been out in Providence and we were driving home. She lived in what we called the boonies area. Windy roads, further away from everything. She used to get upset with me because I would always tell her to slow down. Sheila, you've been driving 6 months longer than me. Don't tell me how to drive. I remember thinking, she's going too fast. The next thing I remember is her screaming my name. The car was spinning out of control. We started to spin out on the ice, the car fully doing circles on the road and careening off the side. hitting trees like a pinball in a pinball machine. I remember her screaming, trying to steer the wheel. I gripped to the side door and braced myself as best I could. The next thing I knew, we were in a lake. It was frozen. I looked over at my friend. There was blood dripping off her face. She moaned as her head rolled towards me, and I could see blood all over the side of her head from where the window and tree had come in and attacked her. The side of my car door was pushed up against ice, and the window was still intact, so I couldn't get out. Instinctually, I climbed into the back seat and climbed through the broken glass in the back window across the ice. I ran across the frozen pond without thinking. I didn't even check to see if the ice would hold my weight. I ran up to the closest house shouting, "Please call 911. A woman appeared and said, "I already have, they're on their way." I ran back to the car to my friend. I remember being in the ambulance, holding her hand. She was moaning and saying she felt like throwing up. I remember being concerned because the people in the ambulance didn't seem worried about her. I was terribly worried. She ended with 20 stitches or staples in her head and memory damage. It completely wiped away our friendship. My best friend was gone. She couldn't remember the times we had spent together. It was so hard for me to lose her. Her big brother said to me, "Sheila, there was a square around where you were sitting in that car." And I know statistically they say that it's usually the passenger that gets hurt in major accidents. I've never fact-checked this, but somewhere along the line, this became true to me. He said, "There was a square around where you were sitting." There's this thing I've discovered called sticky phrases. It's what we learn in marketing, to try to create sticky phrases. I'm sure there are a few you've heard of. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't, and that reminds you of a certain candy bar. But I believe that we each have our own unique sticky phrases, whether that be a song lyric that you heard, a scene from a movie that you just can't get out of your head, the conversation that you overheard walking by. I believe that those are clues from the universe, from our guides, from people who have passed, from loved ones helping us along the way. Those are our Easter eggs in our video game of life. "Sheila, there was a square around where you were sitting." His family said it to me. "Sheila, there was a square around where you were sitting." But I'm not a 2D paper doll. It wasn't a square. It was a cube. And he didn't say to me, "Sheila, you'll be okay if I go." He said, "If I go, you will be okay," knowing that he couldn't protect me in that accident from this side. My mother said something to me years later. "If your dad only knew how sad you would be, he never would have died." As if he had a choice in it, confirming what I thought and felt, that he had protected me in that accident. Connecting dots. And even the idea of connecting dots is one of my sticky phrases. There's a work group that I'm part of in the Bay Area for creatives. This woman put up a website and sent it to me. What she wrote was, "Sheila Khan, connector first, marketer second." I was standing in an airport. I don't even remember where I was traveling to or from. It was an intense job, but I read that and I started crying. I was crying not because it felt like the deepest recognition or award, but because it felt like truth. It felt like the deepest truth of who I am and what matters to me. And in the same breath, I know we are all connected, and there's not actually anything I need to create. But using technology to connect people, to create communities, that is what's important to me. And I do believe that's my soul mission. My dad created the cube for me, showed me how to connect the dots, showed me that there's more to life than what we see. And so that's who I am, a connector. And I know many of you are too. Let's continue to move forward into some delicious energy. The light note I'd like to share with y'all is one of connection and one of reverence for people that have given to us, who have lit our way, lit our paths. May each of you be open to giving and receiving divine connection with others. May you call in your soul sisters and soul brothers to connect with on this journey we call life. May you be open to receiving the magic in the universe, the signs, the serendipities, even in our deepest moments of hardship, especially in our deepest moments of hardship where we might need them the most. Whether it be the sun touching your face in a moment of grief or mourning, a leaf floating in water to remind you of going with the flow of life, a stranger smiling at you, reminding you that kindness costs nothing. May we honor and show gratitude for those connections, and may we also be people to give and create and cultivate those kinds of connections, knowing and deeply embodying that we are never alone. You are never alone, my lovely. Thank you for being here with me today. The light in me honors the light in you. Sending love, Sheila.